Hi, I'm Scott Torchik. I've been with New Philadelphia Fire for 11 years, and I've been working in EMS for 23 years.
Hi, my name is Matthew Graham. I've been a New Philadelphia firefighter for 19 years.
Hi, I'm Wes Salter. I've been a firefighter with the New Philadelphia Fire Department for 19 years.
So, gentlemen, all of you have been here at least a decade, some obviously much longer. I'm curious to know, I feel like some other people would be as well. What does the calls look like, the average call that comes through today, as opposed to a decade ago? What does that average call look like for you guys?
So, I guess a decade ago, it wasn't so much a change in the type of calls, it's the type of calls that we're going on now. You know, there's been a large increase in mental health issues, psychiatric type calls, along with addiction and suicide attempts. You know, 10 years ago, if you went on a handful a month, it was a rarity. Now we go on sometimes a handful a day. That's been the biggest change I've seen in the last 10 years.
I think one of the biggest changes I've seen over the 10 years is the substance abuse problem was a much smaller population than it is now. Now it's more widespread through the community, hitting more families and prominent families that people would never expected it to happen. So it's bleeding through more of the socioeconomic lines now than it's ever has in the past.
So you guys show up on a typical call, which it sounds like it's safe to say is predominantly mental health or with some addiction, substance abuse in there. What does that look like for you guys approaching that call, going into it, mindset going through the door? What does that look like for you guys going through the door there?
We've really changed our responses over the years. You know, now if we go on a combative person, an overdose, we really don't go in until the police are there. You know, we've really specialized our roles with this. The law enforcement makes sure that the scene's safe, everything's clear, so that when we do go into the house, that we're not walking into a hostile environment, making sure that our main focus is going to be the patient and not worrying about the family member that's really upset or their friends that are trying to hide stuff at the scene. You know, we're there strictly for the patient, and the law enforcement is clearing that scene for us and dealing with the scene. That way we each have our own specialized roles on the scene.
So having spent a little bit of time with you guys and chatting and seeing your hearts about how it is you approach this, I feel like it's safe to say you definitely have not become jaded in a job where it might be easy to do that. What does it look like for you guys showing up on the scene to continually help people, maybe the same person more than once, and have the right approach about moving into it, trying to do everything in your power to help people get to that place where they are ready to change?
For me, I approach it from a personal level with having a family member who's lost the battle to addiction and still having a few other family members battling addiction. When I go on those calls, I can relate to the family. I can relate to the person that's there struggling. So I know when my family's struggling, I don't want jaded responders coming and taking care of them. That's how I try to approach those families and just have faith that everything's going to work out for them the way God intends in the end.
From my side, I think it's just knowing that there's a person on the other side of that. You know, a lot of times when we go out with the ambulance, we see them at their worst, and sometimes we continuously see them at their worst. My experience with going out with the QRT team and seeing them when they're not in a drug-related state and being able to sit and talk to them, you see that there's a person behind the overdose person. And I think just trying to direct them to the help that they need and let them know it's not going to be easy. Once they succeed far enough down the path of recovery, you see that they're no different than anyone else. And, you know, once you see that success, it's easier to look at the other side and say there is hope.
I had the opportunity to work for Wes one time with the QRT team, and seeing this young mother and her reaction when she saw a sheriff's deputy and a paramedic and a counselor show up, when she didn't call or didn't ask, seeing how much we cared, she was overwhelmed with emotion. You know, that one instance felt like I did so much good just to realize, for her to realize that people cared about her. It was overwhelming to me. You know, in my mind, everyone has value, and the community needs to look at addiction as a disease, because that's honestly what it is. The good Lord put everybody on this earth for a reason, and nobody is worthless in my mind. So that's really what's changed me, is learning more about addiction and how it affects a person, affects their brain, seeing it on a personal connection, like Wes said, the day after, that these are sons, daughters, mothers, fathers, and nobody wants to be this way. Situations happen in our lives that we can't control. Poor choices are made, but everyone, I feel, deserves a chance, and that's what has helped me change my mindset, and has helped me keep from being jaded, that I'll do whatever I can within all my power as a firefighter and paramedic here, to help these folks out until the very end, because we can't give up on them. There's always hope.
There's a situation that pops up. Somebody has overdosed, their friends are with him, some mental health issues, they've called you guys before, they don't want to again. On their end of it, they have this perspective like, I don't want to call them, we're going to get in trouble, we don't need them, we'll figure this out. What would you guys share to somebody in that sort of situation? What would be your encouragement to them about the benefits and why it is so important to call you guys?
I think it's just important to call 911 early. When we come to an emergency scene, we're there for the patient. We're not there wondering why they did that or who gave it to them, anything like that. We're not worried about getting people in trouble. We're there to help the patient. A lot of times I see that we're there later on in the emergency. A lot of the people that are with them when they overdose, they try to wake them up themselves. They try to put cold water on them. They try to give them Narcan themselves. And then usually when all those attempts fail, then they call us, and we're really coming to the scene behind, we have everything against us in that situation. Rather than calling us early and them giving Narcan at the scene and the person waking up and us getting there saying, okay, you're okay, that's fine, we'll go back to the firehouse. They're calling us later on in the incident rather than early on when it's easier to make a change.
Like Wes said, I'll second it there. A lot of times people wait too long. They wait too long to call, or they're found late, people left, and sometimes we get there too late, and the cards are stacked against us, and even with our best efforts, sometimes we're unsuccessful. But I think people knowing that all the first responder services are there to help, and not to be afraid to call. Us being there early and being able to provide service quicker will have a better outcome for them.
I think it's safe to say sometimes people forget that you are community members as well. You have families, you're involved in the community. Would you guys just share a little bit about, what kind of involvement you have in the community and what's your heart to see a healthy community?
I help coach baseball and football in the community, and to me, one of the main reasons I do it is to try to set a positive example for the kids who might not have that at home. A healthy childhood can lead to eliminating a lot of problems in the future.
Absolutely.
If you can let a kid who's 8, 9, 10 years old, who's struggling at home a little bit, know that they're valued and loved, and you can get them in a solid program, it can help them avoid going down the wrong path and getting in with the wrong crowd later down the road.
I've coached softball in the community for the last couple years, and I think just building that relationship with the younger kids, you're a familiar face if they ever need anything, and it just gives them a place to go, and it gets them out of the house, keeps moving, and build friendships.
Well, I was born and raised in New Philly and graduated from New Philadelphia High School, so I've been involved. I started at the fire department when I was 19 years old, so I've been in this community my whole entire life, and I think all of us can say the main reason we got involved with the fire service was to help our community out, help people out. My daughter is involved with high school rodeo, and we're involved with families across the whole state, and it's just so important to have a healthy community and getting involved with our kids' lives early on, being a positive role model, a positive influence, like these guys said, to get them on the right path. A lot of kids don't have father figures in their lives, so being a coach, a mentor, really starts them out with a good set of values. Sometimes we can't control the hand we're dealt. We're trying to, being involved with our community, trying to stack the deck our way to make our community a more desirable, healthy, happy place to live.
So what would be your guys' encouragement to friends, family dynamic situation where it's very obvious there's a problem at hand, there's something going on? What would be your encouragement to get them to call to try and get help?
So I think if I'm going to give anything to the family and friends to take away from this is don't give up hope. And with that, don't enable the person, but don't write them off. You need to draw solid, hard lines that they know you love them, but they can't cross certain points. At the beginning, they're not going to want help. They're going to give you pushback. Keep pushing them to get the help that you know that they need. And don't give up hope. Just stay on them. Keep loving them.
It's going to take love, man. I mean, it's a fight, it's a battle. This is a disease people have, not a choice, but everybody has a different rock bottom. And sometimes it's easy to get frustrated and want to give up. The family members might be the only positive influence they have in their life. If they give up, that might be the last ray of hope. It's got to take love, compassion, empathy, a heart and will to fight for your loved ones. My hope for the community in this problem in the next 3, 5, 10 years is that we don't have any more Joey Otties. We don't have to watch families, parents like his mom, struggle and fight to do everything in their power and still not do enough. That's my hope, is that the community realizes that this is a disease and everyone has to be involved, that they have more compassion and empathy. You know, I knew Joey as a little kid. I was friends with his older brother. We grew up together, and I watched Joey struggle. I treated him when he has overdosed, and I've been mad. I've beat my head against the wall, watched his brothers and mom struggle, and I just hope in 3 years we don't ever have to go through this. I hope that people latch on to the resources, that the community gets involved, that no mother has to go through what Marianne Oddie did. That's my hope for the community.